introduce Bridget Gargan. Remember Bridget from last year, so we're appreciative for her coming back down from Columbus and taking the trip down and kind of give us some updates about OACB, Ohio Association of County Boards, and just things going on in the state, initiatives, just to kind of, and it's pretty informal, so I'm sure she'd be happy to answer any questions you guys have as we go, kind of thing. But definitely appreciate her being. The other thing I had the honor of doing this year was I got to sit next to Bridget at an Indians game. At the Indians game out there. So Bridget is a huge Indians fan, so.
Were you there last night or the night?
No, we were.
Our seats are for $3,800.
I was going to say, yeah. So I heard in Chicago, I mean, it's like $2,300 for standing room.
Oh, that was great.
So, anyway, just wanted to thank Bridget for coming. So
Great.
it's all yours. So.
Okay. Well, thank you. I started listening to your stuff. Please cut me off. So thank you very much for having me. I'm not going to read every slide, and since none of you are brand new to the board system, to the county board, I'm going to move pretty rapidly through some of the OACB slides. Laurie could probably give the OACB part of the presentation, but so I'm going to attempt to do this. I feel very CNN-ish or weather person. I've never done anything like this, so we'll see how it goes. So if I give you the slide, yeah, we're going to go there. So thank you for having me back. And in fact, I think this exact meeting last year because the trees were, beautiful coming down as they were last year. So very much appreciated. I'd like to start by acknowledging Dan, your superintendent. These have been some really kind of tumultuous times, and I'm certainly sharing and poised you all well. But Dan came in here. I remember talking to you right after you came in your first week on the job. There was a call on a snow day. And I thought, this doesn't get much more stressful than that. So the Dan hit the ground running, and he's quickly gotten to know all his peers and is very respected. And he's lent his know-how and experience in terms of serving on some really critical state committees that Director Martin is directly involved with and signs off on. So, thank you, Dan, for all you've done. Some of it is really monotonous work that would lead to somebody to do something like what we just saw. When you've been calculating adult day formulas for weeks on end, and you need an outlet. So I know many of you are somewhat familiar with OACB. We're in the process of doing our strategic plan for 2017 through 2019. The question that's come up in terms of, is our mission statement outdated because we talk about providing services, and clearly county boards are moving out of providing services. So we're taking a look at that, but the heart and the soul of the county boards remain intact. So we're really trying to do a lot of work with the membership on the fact that the core values of county boards and why they exist in terms of helping people, all those things are still the essential functions of county boards. And so, we exist, to support all of you, supporting people. And something that I absolutely love about my job is we have 12 employees, and every single person in that office has a passion for this field. You can't fake it, and it's really in the heart of everybody that works at the association. Laurie, even Adam is softened up. I swear. Seriously. So, and I'm proud to say that we've hired our first person who happens to have a developmental disability, Michael Brooks, who came to us from Union County in their workshop, and he's just been a phenomenal asset to our team. Much like the county boards, we are governed by a volunteer board, a 19-member board. Laurie is a former chair of the OACB board, and I know it to be true that she's a very compassionate person, not only for all she's done on behalf of people with developmental disabilities, but firsthand helped me through a difficult time that was related to a chronic health issue that I have. And so we do miss you very much. And so the thing about the board is the majority of them are county board members just like yourselves. We have a great mix of both parents, siblings, and community members, so it's a really good mix. as it is with the 6 superintendents on the board. That all counties, different sized counties, small, medium, large, urban, rural, suburban, are all represented. So our finances, you all pay our salaries. We work for you. We are a dues-driven organization. Through the years, we've had different kinds of some non-dues revenue, but the bulk of our finances come from you. And so I can't stress that enough when I'm out speaking with people. Dan, thank you for saying, like, we work for you. So thank you for having me. Our budget runs about $1.5 to $2 million a year. We just hired a chief operating officer, former business manager at Butler County. He's been a phenomenal asset. He started earlier this year because after our assistant director left, we were having trouble finding somebody to kind of step in, but I knew in terms of what county boards were facing in terms of an uncertain financial future and for the fiscal sustainability of OACB, that I needed somebody with more expertise in the business realm. So Rick's been a great addition to our staff. And so in terms of running the organization, and I very much believe in servant leadership, and that it's not here to be someone kind of chest pounding and fist on the table. We're here to serve, and some things that are very important to me in terms of the culture of the organization, which has had some issues through the years on some of these realms. I feel they're very important, and that's transparency, accountability. That things be process-driven. When I walked in the door, and some people have done some great things, but one of the things I heard immediately was that some felt like we only catered to big counties, and decisions were made behind closed doors with just a couple superintendents from big counties. And that doesn't work in my book, because all of you are dues-paying members. Before coming to OACB, I spent 21 years with the Ohio Hospital Association, where everybody from Cleveland, McKenna, Hospital, and Brown County were members of our organization. All paid dues, and I want everybody to feel as though they've been heard and had an opportunity, thus the inclusiveness. And we're here for people. The people, you're the ones on the front lines, so I always try to be very careful by not saying we, because we're not the ones that are having really challenging conversations with the families upset because they feel they can't get enough or are getting too little. And my mom was a teacher, age 27 years, and she was spit on, bitten, had her hair pulled, all the bodily functions, and she loved every minute of it. And so, we're here not we're here for you as the board, the people that work here, and certainly the people that you serve. And also, something that's very important is, we go through a lot of processes. I feel as though we didn't have a very strong advocacy presence at OACB when I joined nearly 3 years ago. And so we've made some adjustments in terms of that, and we still have a lot of work to do. But our first state budget, somebody on the staff said, we're putting this all-out effort on something. And one of the staff people said, well, at least they'll appreciate we tried. And yes, they may, but we're here to deliver results for the members. So that's also very important as well. But those are the guiding principles of the association. So where some of these may look somewhat familiar, but what do we do at the OACB? We have 4 primary pillars. And one of those, as I just mentioned, is advocacy. In addition to bolstering our state presence, we also very much need to have more of a presence in Washington, D.C., especially with the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, CMS. I strive to give acronym-free presentations, so if I don't, just throw something. If I use one, feel free to throw something at me. Have some work at the level. The CMS, they're the ones that came up with these rules that kind of rocked the DD world across the country, and especially in Ohio because of how our system is set up. They're kind of the human services Pentagon of DC, and they don't like meeting with the average taxpayer. They only want to deal with other government professionals. But we're trying to penetrate that. Also, in terms of
Sorry.
That's okay. Okay, in terms of communication, we've made an effort to make our communications more timely and to the point of late. We do a lot of specialized legal representation. We have a law firm that we work with that has had a 30-year relationship with OACB. And we just issued a request for proposal for looking at new law firms. And so it's just a healthy business practice. You know, the firm does a great job.
Is that in the state of Ohio?
It's in the state of Ohio, yes, sir.
Not DC.
Not DC, no. And so this is, and we're talking legal work, so like when an HR, a human resources person has a question about something, they can go to this lawyer. OACB picks up the cost of that. We typically pay for issues that are statewide significant, so that might be of interest to another county board. But there's been over a 30-year relationship. It's the only law firm or organization has ever worked with. We have he's like an outside counsel. We have somebody that we use, the gentleman, Frank Hickman, for kind of is our lawyer at OACB. But we just issued a request for proposal for the firm that interacts with you know, the county boards and OACB. We do a lot of training and technical assistance. We just wrapped up a series of communication seminars, training technical assistance on how to talk to your communities, your families, your staff, your boards about all the changes that are happening in the system. So those are really the main pillars of what we do in terms of advocacy, communication, training, and technical assistance. Behind the scenes, we have one on operations in terms of, you know, how OACB functions and how we can deliver the best value proposition to our members. So there's been a lot, you hear a lot about system transformation, and you all, and I'm not just saying this because I'm here, you are way ahead of the curve in this state. You know, this is a very, very diverse state, and many rural areas, many urban areas, and everything in between. And there's a lot of different philosophies out there. I think one of the things, other things I heard immediately upon walking in the doors, there's 88 different ways of doing things, and there's 88 different opinions. And so we strive for commonality in terms of, with the principle of always what's best for the person and the family who rely and depend on the board. But this whole transformation process, again, has given an ample opportunity to talk about what are our opportunities for the future, where are we vulnerable, and you know, something that's very near and dear of this system that turns 50 years old next year is how can we keep viable at the local level in terms of that local control and authority in terms of the boards. And, you know, and it gave us an opportunity to look at where the system is headed. And so along those lines, as we tried to answer those questions in terms of where are our vulnerabilities, where are our opportunities, and looking at how to keep county boards, you know, very local-centric, with a local focus so they can be responsive to the culture of their communities, clearly money always comes up. And so at the top of that list in terms of vulnerabilities, in terms of talking with the membership, there's a lot of fiscal sustainability vulnerability. Because what's happening across the state is many counties are privatizing their workshops, or they're doing reverse integration workshops. 7 county boards have not closed the doors to their workshops, which the government wanted to happen by September of last year. And so we're going to start a work group with the county board staff, business managers and superintendents to talk about fiscal sustainability and the next state budget, which will be unveiled in February of 2017. And it's Governor Kasich's swan song budget. And so everybody's a little kind of trepidation in terms of what that might entail. But something that was also very important is positioning our organization to be one that was more proactive than reactive. So when I shared with Director Martin, we were forming a work group to look at the state budget. He said, well, why don't we do it together? And so it's, so we're working with the department and their staff trying to prepare for the next state budget. And what we really heard very loudly and clearly from our board members and from the superintendents and business managers across the state is we need some predictability. We need to know what is the state going to pay for and what are the county boards going to pay for once and for all. The biggest challenge with that proposition and trying to resolve those issues is that county boards have to be planning always 5 and 10 years out, sometimes even longer in terms of forecasting when they're going to go to the ballot next. The state legislature and the governor's office, they think in 2-year increments. And so that makes that very challenging. And a current legislature cannot bind a future legislature to any spending proposals. And so, the business manager is saying, we don't want, we need to nail this down. And so that's been kind of a learning curve in terms of working with some of them. But this is Director Martin's, probably his last state budget. He's the only holdover from the Strickland administration, and he's still standing through some very difficult times. But he wants to leave somewhat of a legacy budget, and he wants to leave his house in order and the department in order. And so he's pretty passionate about talking about trying to come up with some funding formulas that may endure for years to come. I'm very fortunate, and there's people far smarter, much better, understanding of county board finances. We've got some great minds working on that. Clearly, on everybody's mind is levies, and I believe it was like maybe 10 to 12 levies up across the state. Some are renewals, some are new money. But and we see in communities in Morgan County starting last year. A former county board member was writing letters to the paper saying, don't go for the levy because they closed their workshop and they're no longer providing services. That is not the case. And so, and also somewhat painfully, a lot of county boards, as they transition their adult service programs, have had to lay off disgruntled staff. And so that's been very painful. And people talk, in their communities and whatnot. So there are some real concerns there about that messaging with the public in terms of, the county boards are as essential as ever. And so we started a project where we asked all 88 county boards to send their levy language to OACB. We found a phenomenal lawyer, Bridget Eckler. Have you seen her present?
Yeah, I had to miss it last time.
She gets so excited about levy law that you cannot even believe it. And so, but it's all she does, and is levy, public finance, and levy law. So she can read through things pretty quickly, and so she is reviewing all the ballot language. She's been doing this for 30 years, so it's not as expensive as it may sound. But she's looking for red flags in terms of where county boards may need to make some changes. We were successful in the legislature in changing the wording in terms of what county boards, how they can word the language on the ballot. And the reason that's important is because, especially in smaller counties, a lot of the ballots tend to name the school or the workshop by name. And so if they're no longer named that, then you have, it's usually, if you have to change the language, it's now a new levy. It's not a renewal. And so the 12% that nobody knew they had on their property taxes until they took it away a few years ago at the state capitol. So anti-levy people are going to, saying, how much more expensive it is. So we're very concerned about new money levies. So we are allocating a lot of resources to that. Also, something from the membership, last year at our delegate assembly, there was a resolution talking about the absolute importance of the SSA function. There are many that fear the DD community is the only community that has not been folded into Governor Kasich's Medicaid managed care for all scenario. And the reason why is because the county boards generate $1 billion that the state is never going to give to all of you. And so they don't know quite what to do. Managed care can be a very good thing for people, and they can maybe help alleviate some pressure from SSAs in terms of finding doctors and dentists and transportation to and from appointments. But they also employ case managers and job coaches. Director McCarthy assures us that there's a realization that it's very intensive work that the county boards do, but that's why there's some uneasiness in regards to that. And so we had a resolution talking about the need to preserve and bolster the SSA function. Local influence and support of providers is a really, really significant issue. And that is to say that when services were provided at the county board, you had people on hand, the superintendent and the staff to see exactly what was happening and intervene. And in terms of families, there is a lot of concern. They're looking at superintendents, they're looking at SSAs and saying, how are you going to promise me my child or my adult child is going to be safe with a new provider? And it's a very serious question. And it's not that hard. It's shockingly easy to become a provider in the state of Ohio. So we're allocating a lot of resources to this. There's a couple different things going on. We're involved in a pilot project, providersearch.com. Are you all familiar with Angie's List? It's similar to Angie's List where families can go on and rate providers. And there's a whole process in terms of checking out credibility, and there's anonymity, but it goes through a process so people don't have to worry about retaliation or some of the concerns we've heard. But it's free. It will be free to people. There's not a membership fee. We've also recently contracted with a former superintendent, a retired superintendent, Nancy Neely from Lincoln County. She was, she actively privatized their workshop and established a lot of great relationships with providers. So our board has allocated resources, significant resources, to getting pilot projects in every region of the state in terms of collaborating with providers. And the two things you've heard, Hamilton County has done a lot of work on this. And what you'll hear about is the need for the provider and the board to be vulnerable and willingness to be vulnerable with one another, so that it's not a pointing fingers thing, but how do we fix this so it never happens again and what's best for the person. It's some very powerful stuff, but it also takes a long time to build. There's a lot of different opinions in the membership. This is a really significant issue, and the parents aren't sitting there pondering, okay, especially if it's not on the ballot now. They're not pondering, oh my gosh, is the board going to be fiscally sustainable? Are their levies going to pass? They want to know their kids can be safe. And seeing how the primary charge of health, safety, and welfare, we take this very seriously.
What did you say the name of that?
Providersearch.com. Right now, it's only up and running in Knox County and Cuyahoga County, but it will be expanding. We hit a software glitch with the Department of DD if it's being fixed. So, yes.
So when will?
Probably next year. At some point, I'd rather under-promise and over-deliver than the other way around. I would say, realistically speaking, probably next spring, summer, before it's kind of up and running. But all the kinks hopefully will have been worked out. And again, it's a free tool for parents. These two should actually be one bullet point with community inclusion and employment. And so we have revised a position at OACB that was formerly for early intervention, which is very important. We have a phenomenal woman who works with us via contract on those issues, and we took the dollars from that position to create a community inclusion position. So we have somebody who's doing that full time in terms of working with the counties on, how do we include people in the community, and what about employment? My younger brother works with veterans with disabilities and in the employment realm. I've got near and dear friends in the mental health community that are doing the same thing. And so we're really trying to be very purposeful and kind of increase collaboration because there's a lot of other people seeking community employment. And something that is very near and dear to me as having been traveling the state for the last 2.5 years talking about these transition changes is the parents that you will meet that are in their 80s who helped start this system, and they want to leave this earth knowing their kids are okay. And they deserve that. Obviously, anybody does. But they helped create the system. They're the ones that started meeting in the church basements, taking their kids out of the house and feel as though they're being told something was wrong. They did something wrong. And I feel very passionately that we have an absolute obligation to all families, but especially these parents who, again, are in their late 70s, late 80s, and want to know that their kids are being okay. And, along with that, I've met a lot of parents. I was at a meeting with Employment First with Socana New, and there was somebody from the Department of Developmental Disability saying that there was a job for everybody. And I may have told this story last year that, there's a dad, Roger, on the Lucas County Board, and his son is 42, has a trach feeding tube, nonverbal, has significant needs. And he said, "You need to tell me there's a community job for my son." And she said, "Yes." If it would have been a man, I think he would have jumped over, like where you're sitting, and she was standing here. I think if it would have been a man, he might have punched her. But he did not. And we can't leave people behind in all of this. And it doesn't really feel like the federal government took that into consideration when they're talking about all these noble and wonderful goals. We don't have all those answers right now. As you all know, there's a huge shortage of provider workforce issues, and so that's something that I'd love to tell you that we have figured out, but we know what we're not. So in terms of community integration, what does that really mean? And I think you guys have done some things down here, but there's a lot of confusion and there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen, so to speak, between the Department of DD, Employment First, and then the opportunities for Ohioans with disabilities and that whole process. And so, again, what we're trying to do is get away from kind of these needs-based services in terms of, getting people into the, finding out what they want to do in a person-centered kind of way and trying to find those right fits. You see it every day, many of you live it. And, and again, going back to for some families, some people that you serve, they may not be candidates for that. But we're seeing some pretty rewarding things. I can just tell you, Michael Brooks from our office, he's 42 and lives with his mom and has his entire life. And he doesn't have much social interaction. And he just went to the 3.5 days of Project STIR training. And he walked into the office today with a certificate, and he had never engaged in something like that with his peers for 3 days and learning things. And he came in with his certificate, and he was so happy. I said, I'm really proud of you. Like, you came out of your comfort zone. He's like, yeah, I wrote it on my shell. And so, there's a lot of good that can come from this, but just like some of the work with the providers, it is very labor intensive. And in terms of trying to create community-based learning and really kind of do a better job, as I alluded to earlier, in terms of collaborating with other local entities in terms of kind of sharing resources or finding what's best for people. In terms of developing partnerships with employers, Scott Marks, our community integration inclusion person, has come up with some grant proposal ideas, and we have received funding for different projects throughout the state, funded by the Department of Developmental Disabilities. And Scott was working with a Northeast Ohio employment collaborative, and they were all sitting there talking one day saying, have you ever noticed that we have these award ceremonies and we give awards to people who already support community employment and a crowd of people who support community employment. So we're trying to switch that dynamic, and last year had a kind of a first ever forum in Northeast Ohio where every employer who employed a person with a disability was asked to bring an employer. And so we're really trying to change that dynamic and build better relationships with Chamber of Commerce and other entities like that to kind of break out of the mold in terms of being able to advance things. And we're already hearing from people who are maybe had already been privatized, and in terms of sometimes people act out or may have certain behaviors. So we're trying to find our way on that because I know in at least one county they said the library loves you, bud. In terms of that, so we need to be realistic. I'm somebody who believes this is not an OACB position, but the plan is to have all this kind of up and running by 2024. I happen to believe that the feds are going to need to make some allowances for reality at some points. They're not going to walk away from the major thrust of all this, and there's so much that is good about it. But there may need to be some kind of tweaks for reality in terms of options for people where maybe community employment or volunteering just isn't the right fit. So, in terms of some of these things are a lot larger societal issues. Right now, it's something that should have been a point on one of my slides in terms of kind of our priorities. Right now, Disability Rights Ohio, which is it used to be public, but there used to be called legal aid for basically people with developmental disabilities. Sometimes we collaborate with them, and sometimes we cannot. But after the state allocated 3,000 new waivers for people in the last state budget and put some other resources into closing developmental centers, which can be very painful for parents and families, and getting people out of intermediate care facilities, they still sued the state of Ohio for not doing enough for people with developmental disabilities. We're going to be joining forces. We're going to file a motion to be involved with the case, to be a party to the case, because if we're not, we cannot have a seat at the table as they try to negotiate this in federal court. The judge who it was assigned to was involved in a pretty big, significant DD case many years ago, the Martin case. So he's familiar with these issues, and my understanding is he's really trying to talk to the lawyers, saying, can we work something out? And so we are going to have a seat at the table. The frustration with Disability Rights Ohio from the association perspective is that these things need time to happen. And we have a huge problem with workforce in terms of providers being able to have an adequate workforce. And somebody just doesn't walk out of a developmental center or kind of roll out of a developmental center or an ICF, an intermediate care facility. They need somewhere to go, and there needs to be a plan, and there need to be people involved in their lives. So we are going to be joining forces. Disability Rights Ohio asked us to be a plaintiff in the suit. We declined that, and the Department of Justice intervened in the suit on behalf of Disability Rights Ohio. And basically what they said is anybody who's waiting for a waiver who does not have one should be a plaintiff in this lawsuit, is the essence of what they said. And so that's problematic. They talk about the waiting list. So waiting list reform is a really big issue that we're working on, so it's a better reflection of what's happening in the state. So we do have opportunities, and we are, again, allocating resources, talking about just because the board may not be providing services, they're still a very vital member of the community. And so as we look forward, this was a very condensed version. I didn't know I was going to have to compete with the video. listening. So this is a very condensed version of all the different things we're working towards and working on your behalf and the people that you work with. But what you can be sure of is the deep commitment to the team at OACB. Again, we work for you. You pay our salaries to our members and to the individuals and families that you work with on a day-to-day basis. And are going to be allocating, a lot in this next state budget because it's going to be a blueprint, we hope, for moving forward in the future. There is a concern, kind of a one and done, where the legislature's like, well, we took care of you all last time, so what are you coming back for? And really, in so many respects, it's kind of the tip of the iceberg in terms of trying to educate legislators in a term limit environment that county boards have lifelong relationships with people. And in this term limited environment, in the state budget process, the last state budget process, the finance committee said, okay, we're going to close the Montgomery County Developmental Center and the Youngstown Developmental Center. So we're going to take all those savings and give the money to somebody else. And it's like, okay, they may be closing because people don't know where to go. They didn't think that's not how they think. And so there's a huge education effort that goes on with this. And so again, we're really trying to do everything we can do to promote fiscal sustainability for the boards. Dan's been involved in some very, very, very tedious groups that have dealt with formulas on how to reimburse for day services. And but that's where a lot of things happen in those work groups. So thank you for your willingness to serve. And so you can look for us in the next state budget process to try to be addressing these fiscal sustainability issues, these provider support issues in terms of the workforce, and the health, safety, and welfare of the people and the families, certainly that you work with, while also having a phenomenal opportunity to really empower people on things that maybe they never even knew were possible, yet leave nobody behind in terms of those individuals where the community may not be their best option. So if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. This is a very macro view of everything we're involved with on a day-to-day basis. But more than anything, just appreciate your willingness to serve in terms of, I know many of you have been at this for several years now, and maybe after a day at work, it's not like, hey, let's go to a board meeting. But you know what, it doesn't matter. And it makes Ohio special. We're the only state in the nation that is governed by families and members of the community in terms of how these services are delivered. And that's because we are a primarily locally funded system. Obviously, we get money from the federal government with the Medicaid match money you all come up with. But we have something special here, and really want to preserve that local autonomy and control that I'm sure you all treasure. So thank you.
Thank you, Bridget.
Thank you. Well, thank you for your time. Very much appreciate it.
So you said you guys are working on a new strategy or plan?
Strategic plan.
Strategic plan. So what, do you have an idea of how it would change your labor other than what you said about supporting services?
Yeah, I think that really it's going to be on, what won't change is our pillars of advocacy, communication, training, and technical assistance. So those pillars will not change. They're kind of and I think where you were part of that strategic, the organization, this predates me, hadn't had a really strategic plan, and when Gloria's on board, they did something about that. So those have been really grounding and provided a lot of direction for the association, and were certainly helpful to have them in place when I arrived there a little over 3 years ago. So I don't think those will change. But it is going to be just about some of the very things talked about in terms of fiscal sustainability, and it's kind of all-encompassing and includes levies. But this local, we used to talk about provider control, enforcement and control. We changed that to provider support because we're all in this together and we need to make it work. So I think what you'll see is just, I think the biggest change will be we're operating in environment than when the last strategic plan was created for 2012 to 15. We had a work plan this year, but not so much a strategic plan. So the main and central difference is the universe has completely changed with the requirements from the federal government. I think you'll see the plan reflect that, and a lot on this community inclusion, employment. What can we do for people in terms of transitioning, starting working with people at 14 versus 19 or 20 in terms of careers and work and school and things like that. So I think the main difference will be, all the changes required by the feds will be reflected in a very large way in the document. A lot of what the other plan, the old plan, there was a lot of kind of internal focus, and this is going to be external. And so I feel as though we've kind of gotten our house in order. The team's starting to gel and grow in synchronicity. So I think with the main difference, not just the Fed will be much more externally focused and about the members and the people than some of the internal functions at the association. So. I'd also like to acknowledge the staff. You all have very hard jobs. And, the SSAs in this state are just under tremendous pressure. And everywhere I go, people will want to meet with me and say, well, can you just have the SSAs talk about this? Can you just have the SSAs talk about this? I'm like, that's what everybody wants the SSAs. They're trying to log into the department's software that doesn't work. So, but really good things happening, for community and employment work. So thank you all very much.
Well, Bridget, we just want to say thank you for coming down.
Thank you.
It's a trip to come down this direction, but we certainly appreciate it. And I personally just want to thank you for everything in terms of just the interactions I've had directly with you. And I'm always impressed. I mean, you guys have such a scope of your work in terms of working with legislators, working with government. You do a lot of advocacy there.